Good evening, and welcome to another episode of OmenG's Stupid Scary Stories. Once again, I'll be reading from Connecticut Ghost Stories and Legends by Thomas D'Agostino and Arlene Nicholson, part of the Haunted America series. Tonight's story, Devil's Hopyard. The name Devil's Hopyard strikes fear in some, but to others, it is a natural parcel of wonder and adventure. A search for the origin of the name Devil's Hopyard reveals a few arguable versions as to its moniker, but none of them is verifiable, and all are likely to be born of the instability that laces through fact while on the poetic road to local folklore. One of the most popular of these stories is about a man named Dibble, who grew hops along the 8 Mile River for use in his robust and intoxicating moonshine. Dibble would serve this nectar of exhilarating drunkenness to any and all who beckoned. His parties were usually out of control, and all who came drank freely from the tubs of turpentine. One mother in town found her son beyond his reason due to the moonshine and cursed the devil brewmaster for his vile drink. She convinced many of the local folk that Dibble was in league with the Prince of Darkness, trying to corrupt the chaste youth of the town. Those who went down to Dibble's Hopyard were no better than the evil, antagonizing Rummy himself. It seems that through usage of cursing Dibble's Hopyard, the area became known as Devil's Hopyard. There are records of several farmers having hopyards in the area, but there is no mention of a landowner named Dibble. However, Dibble might have been a tenant. Another tale focuses on the potholes near the falls that are some of the finest examples of pothole stone formations in this section of the country. Perfectly cylindrical, they range from inches to several feet in diameter and depth. Stones being swept downstream in the swift current formed these potholes. The stones became trapped in an eddy where they spun around and around, wearing a depression in the rock. When the rock wore down, another would catch in the same hole and enlarge it. We know this now, but to the early settlers, the potholes were a great mystery that they tried to explain with references to the supernatural. The ominous gorge, pockets in the ledges where demons would hide. The Chapman Falls thunderous crescendo into the 8 Mile River below and the rushing river itself were foreboding scenes for the pious settlers of the region. The falls are conveniently located along Devil's Hopyard Road, where one can view them from their commencement down the ledge, or if you wish to descend to the bottom of the gorge from the bank of the river. There are many legends that are written of the devil sitting atop Chapman Falls, tail slung over his shoulder, playing his hellish violin while witches cackle and stir their sinister brews in the potholes below. On stormy nights, they would gather to cast spells and recite incantations. Their cauldrons were the potholes beneath the falls, and they stood around swirling their evil concoctions amid the rumble of thunder and the flashes of lightning. The devil, perched on the ledge above, was illuminated with a hellish blaze of fiery light as he entertained the hags with his fiddle. As for the holes in the rocks, the settlers thought that the devil had passed by the falls, accidentally getting his tail wet. This made him so irate that he burned holes in the stones with his hooves as he bounded away. When looking up at the falls, one can certainly envision where the devil might make his perch on the edge of the cliff. In fact, the ambiance almost entices the vision out of your imagination and into reality. One night, a lone adventurer dared to pass through the hopyard during the witching hour. In an instant, shapeless forms leapt from the ledges and trees near the falls to the ground and began chasing the frightened man. They accosted him, but he managed to escape and find safe haven in the nearest tavern. There he ranted of his encounter with the devil's minions in the cursed hopyard. Some claim he may have had a few too many samples of liquid hops before wandering into the yard. One more story concerns the rebellious son of a minister in nearby Millington named Abraham Brown. As the tale is told, the son was forever on the wrong side of the path of rectitude. He could mock his minister father, Obadiah, during services, but that was just the beginning. One night, he decided to break into the church and steal the sheepskin cover that lay draped over the altar. He was sentenced to serve 1 year in the local host brew for his crime. He came out no better for the wear. In fact, he had adopted the Indian doctrine of happy hunting ground and other Indian ways of life. He criticized his father's ways, saying they were ludicrous and without foundation. His outraged father ordered him out of his home forever. He soon disappeared and was never seen or heard from again. Allegory states that Abraham was taken by the devil in the Hopyard and carried below to serve his penance for his sins. The story sent out a clear message that the devil was waiting at the Hopyard for those who may be less than pious. It can be assured that Sunday service saw a major rise in attendance after that story circulated. There is one traceable historical record that places a certain George Griffin on the property prior to 1800. Griffin ran a small malt house on his farm. He grew hops in a clearing called the Hopyard, in the area that now bears its name. The malt house went out of operation around 1814, but the Hopyard remained as an adjunct for legend to ripen. The history of how the Hopyard became a public park, however, is easy to trace and can be found all over the web. In 1919, the former State Park and Forest Commission obtained an 860-acre parcel located in the Millington section of Haddam. The principal feature of the park, Chapman Falls, drops more than 60 feet over a series of steps in a Scotland schist stone formation. The falls also once powered Beebe's Mills, which were named after the original owner. The mills operated until the mid-1890s. Today, explorers can take in all the diverse scenery that graces the woodland and even camp overnight near the waterfall. But beware of what lurks behind the trees or in the dark shadows of the rocks, for there is more than meets the eye. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs of strange voices and grunts. Equipment has failed to work in the Hopyard even though it was tested and in working condition both before entering and after exiting the haunted parcel. Misty figures have been spied moving about the falls by visitors. Many of the local residents attest to seeing apparitions in the woods and hearing unearthly voices rise up out of nowhere and emanate around them. A group of young men were in the park when they encountered a strange, sinister voice that called out to one of them and then began laughing in a most wicked tone. A few of them saw what resembled an inhuman creature sitting on a fence before them. One of the young men was catapulted into the air, hitting a tree. They later found 4 slash marks that had been torn through the leg of his pants. The park is said to house entities beyond our comprehension. There is an account of one person, while roaming the park with family, actually witnessing a large, shaggy beast with horns and a face resembling that of a skull. Legendary horror writer H.P. Lovecraft was inspired by the folklore and tales of Devil's Hopyard. It was the Hopyard, among other sites, that gave him the muse for the Dunwich horror. Real or imagined, the Hopyard is full of legends and accounts that make it one of the top places to visit, even if you are just in one of some beautiful natural wonders. It is the place where natural and supernatural seem to meet. Now let me tell you, it's no joke, this Hopyard, this strange place. It's no joke. I was there. Once again, on an investigation, going to prove things wrong. That's what I do, I go around and I try to bust these ghost stories down to size and show you that they're just a bunch of stories, little folklore, like they say, tales of terror. It's meant to scare people into church. That's basically what they used it for back in the day. I mean, Obadiah kicked Abraham out, so he left. Probably went to go live with the Indians, right? Exactly. He was already talking about adopting their customs and such, so it would make sense that he probably went to go live with them. And that's what I was thinking when I went to go visit the Devil's Hopyard. I saw the falls. They were beautiful. The land was wonderful. Just a nice open area to just relax and take in the scenery of nature. Watching deer graze, rabbits hop around, squirrels doing what squirrels do, gathering nuts and shit, running up trees, birds chirping. I saw nothing out of the ordinary. Went into town, was talking to a few people. They were telling me their stories and shit. Voices they heard, whispers in the dark, the hooved beasts, shaggy fur, skull face. I heard all these stories, and I'm just like, this is all nonsense. Now I know what you're probably thinking, right? You've gone 2 for 2 so far. Both places you visited have been terrifying to some degree. This would be no different. But I always want to go into it with a mind not expecting the supernatural, because if you go into something expecting to see shit, you'll make yourself see shit. You know what I'm saying? You'll be like, oh God, that shadow in the trees is a ghost. And it's just like a branch moving in the sunlight. I don't got time for that shit. So I go in with a mind that is ready to see absolutely nothing. But I saw a lot this day and night. A lot of people said most of what happens during the witching hour. And if you want to see what we speak of, that is a time in which you should visit. Spend a little time there. Now, of course, I've got my EMF, my EVP, my cameras, infrareds and shit. I've got all the stuff I need, right? I set up cameras over by the Devil's fucking Hopyard. Got some on Chapman's Falls at the top, at the bottom. I got it in all these places that they say I'm supposed to see the devil roaming about with his minions. Like they've been watching too much fucking Gru and shit. Television. Time for that nonsense. Now I know, right? Have I not had enough? Of course not. I've never had enough. You can never have enough of what I do. I explore these places and investigate them so that I can either tell you that they're true or that they're false. Now, the day in question, the day that I visited this Hopyard, the Devil's, I went around noon. Like I said, set up all my equipment, talked to some townsfolk. They said, the witching hour. But I wanted to do a little investigating during the daytime because, I didn't really want to wait all day and night for something to happen. So once again, here I am, walking to the different areas and shit. And as I'm walking towards the falls to check my cameras and make sure everything is set up properly, I notice what looks like a tail disappear over the top of the falls. Now, I'm not gonna say it was the tail of a demon or the devil or anything like that. It just looked like an animal tail to me at the time, right? I wasn't thinking anything of it because there are animals in the woods. Could have been anything. Then I started to hear this sound of a fiddle. Playing this tune. I got a chill down my spine. But still, once again, I figured it could have been somebody watching TV, a car passing by. It could have been anything. I'm not thinking that it's anything serious. Then in the distance, I heard some laughter, right? Once again, I'm thinking there's probably some people out here, since I did go to talk to townsfolk, they're probably coming out here now to try to prank me. So I'm like, oh God. Or like I said, areas that are small towns and small locations try to drum up some revenue by saying, oh God, we've got ghosts. But that's not what it was. That's not what it was. And I learned the hard way. But let me continue. So yeah, heard the fiddles, saw the tail, laughter. Still walking around, not thinking anything of it. I head back into town because I'm like, I got about a few hours before anything serious is gonna go down, right? So I head to this old tavern. It's called a tavern. It's one of the old original taverns from back in the 1800s. Restored and shit, but still has its old timey charm. As I walked through the doors, everything just seemed different. Some people looked up at me and didn't look back at their drinks, went back to their conversations that they were having. So there wasn't a whole lot of people in there, maybe about like 4 or 5. Sat down at the bar, ordered a soda. Man looked at me as if I was strange. I said, I don't drink. He said, well, then why are you in a tavern? I said, well, I'm here doing an investigation and shit of Devil's Hopyard in the Falls. He dropped his glass on the floor. I found that to be strange. I turned around and looked behind me to see if there was something behind me or some shit. Wiped my face because maybe I had something on my face, but I didn't. He said, you should be very careful. I said, yeah, I was just out there a little while ago. I didn't see anything. He said, no. The witching hour. Most people like yourself, investigators, cope during the witching hour. And some have never been seen again. I said, this is fucking Connecticut. If a bunch of people were going missing at this Hopyard, then I'm quite sure I'd know about it. I've lived here for some time. It's a small state. News like that would travel kind of fast. He says, no, trust me. It's almost as if they're erased from existence. As if they never existed to begin with. I mean, I remember seeing them when they come in here, because they all come in here just like you do, waiting for this twilight and time of darkness to go into this Hopyard and to antagonize the beasts and demons that dwell within. He says, you sure you don't want something stronger than soda? I said, no, I don't. Thank you. Bought me my soda. I started to sip it. Heard the door open behind me. Somebody walked in. Immediately, everything got silent. I saw 2 people get up, walk out. Immediately, they shuffled right out the door as if they saw a ghost. I look around, and I see a man walk in. Dressed kind of strange. Like he was an outdoorsy type, you know what I'm saying? Like survival gear, like kind of like a fluffy fur coat. Old-timey looking, but I'm not 100% sure what Native Americans and their adopted brethren wore during this time period. I have no idea. So I wasn't sure if it was like some old-time shit or not. It just looked weird to me, like some outdoorsman type shit. He had a axe on his hip and a rifle slung over his back. He walked up to the bar and he sat down. Didn't say anything. The bartender bought him a drink and a bottle and a glass. He handed it to him and he walked away. Said nothing. The man poured his drink, sipped it, head down, staring at the bar. He looked over towards me as I was looking at him, and he said, so you seek the beast in the Hopyard of the devil. I said, no, I seek to see that it's probably some bullshit in this Hopyard. I was out there earlier, I didn't see anything, no voices, I didn't hear nothing, no scratches, no devil, no nothing. Yeah, so I'm just here to prove that this is a bunch of bullshit and that you guys are just doing this to chalk up and drive up business, Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you seek. He said this to me with like anger in his voice, like he was mad. I sought out the Hopyard of the devil. He sipped his drink again, got up, and he walked out. Bartender came over to me. He said, "Do you know who that was?" I said, "Yeah, I'm from around here, obviously. Yeah, I know who that was." He said, "He only comes in here once ever so often. And usually it's not a good sign for any of those who enter the Hopyard after I've seen him. I beg of you, don't go there. Don't. Not tonight." I'm like, what is he, the local drunk? Troublemaker of some sort? Why should I be worried about this guy? He said, "That is Abraham." Once again, I looked at him dumbfounded. I had forgotten the story about Abraham, the son of Obadiah, that had been cast out by his father. So it didn't ring a bell. Didn't ring a bell at all. I'm like, yeah, okay, Abraham, ooh, the drunk of the town. What's he gonna do, like beat me down, chop me up with his fucking axe when I'm walking in the woods? It's like, yeah, whatever. I got a taser. I'll tase his ass. I'm fucking worried about him. Finished my soda, and I left. Wandered about the town for a little while, stopped in a bookshop, talked to some of the locals again. But now, they were less forthcoming with information. What they were more forthcoming with was warnings. Warnings. Don't do it. Don't go in there. Don't. Stop. You shouldn't. And of course me, I'm thinking, they are really playing this shit up. Wow. But it wasn't good enough for me. Nope. I was going. So let's fast forward. It's midnight. I head back. My equipment's still in place like it's supposed to be. Turn everything on. And I start walking the property. Walking around in the woods and trees and the forest and shit. By the falls. Just recording and listening. Recording and listening. Still nothing. I climb to the top of the falls and the cliff where supposedly the devil is supposed to perch and play his fiddle for his minions. This is where things took a terrifying turn. As I'm at the top, I noticed 3 wisps of smoke start to come up from the bottom of the falls, like a fog. But the fog started to take form. I immediately was like, yes, about fucking time something happens. About time. I started to hear the laughter of women. Sinister laughter. And it echoed. Unnaturally. Because there was no reason for anything to echo. It was open air. There's no, cave. But it sounded like it was in a cave. The laughter got louder and louder. And a sense of panic came over me. I was like, I got scared as shit all of a sudden. I'm like, I'm glad my camera's recording this because this is going to be great if anything really happens. Now, as I'm perched where the devil was supposed to perch, and these voices are laughing and these mists are forming, they take shape. 3 women. Haggardly looking women. Oh, boils and pimples and canker sores. Just ugly hags. Ugh. They were all down at the bottom of the falls. And they looked up at me. All of them at the same time. And with their bony little sharp-nailed fingers, they pointed up at me. You, they said, don't belong here. I said, yeah, neither do you. Shit. I'm allowed to be here if you're here. I said, where did y'all come from? Nice little smoke show. Fog machine down there or some shit? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm not buying it. But I was still scared. I'm not lying to you. But I didn't want to show them that I was scared, just in case they were real people trying to scare me in costumes. But I would learn that they weren't. I felt like a heat, an intense freaking heat on my back. I heard the clunking of hooves on stone walking towards me. The heat got more intense. It's almost like I was on fire. I turned to face the direction from which this heat is coming from. And what do I see? A beast. Furry, big, goat-like legs, large arms with claws, red skin, a skull-like face with fiery eyes and horns. It stared at me, reached to his hip, pulled up a fiddle. I was like, holy shit. Frozen with fear I was. I watched as he started to play. Played his fiddle. And from the ground rose demons in mass. I jumped off the fucking cliff into the fall. 60 feet. Yeah, I know it sounds like a lot to jump, but I had no choice. I was scared to death. I'd rather deal with the hags at the bottom of the fucking falls than his minions and him. I jumped and hit the water. Splash. Oh. Thrashing about. Swam to the edge and climbed out. Soaked I was. Soaked. Luckily my equipment is waterproof, or else, I'd have been shit out of luck. I see him step to the top edge of his perch. From there he said, "You don't belong here!" And roared. Roared. Shook my bones. Right in my meat. I felt like jello for a hot second. I took off running into the woods. I didn't know which way I was going. I just wanted to get away from him. Started hauling ass. Ran into a tree. Fell over. I started thinking, they're not following me, right? And these people could have easily set up some type of gimmick, little trap doors come up out the ground. Oh, right? But it felt highly unlikely. It felt highly unlikely. It was then a hand reached out and grabbed my shoulder. I turned. Oh, it was Abraham. The man from the bar. He said, I warned you. I warned you. You don't belong here. You are disturbing the balance that has reigned for centuries in this land. This ground is evil. You must leave before you can't. You only have a short amount of time to reach the tavern, or forever you will be trapped here. And then he disappeared into the mist that was now starting to engulf the area, which made it difficult for me to figure out which fucking way I was supposed to go. Confused, scared as shit now, because now I know shit's fucking real. I know it's real. I mean, the motherfucker disappeared. And I know these small townsfolk ain't got that kind of goddamn special effects technology and shit. So I knew shit was real. And I was scared to death. Scared to death. I wasted no time getting up to my feet. Looked around, tried to figure out which way I should go. Grabbed my compass, but all it was doing was just spinning. It wouldn't stay in one direction. Looked at my phone, nothing. Couldn't use the compass on that. Couldn't even get a signal, nothing. It just didn't work. Blank screen. Then it rang. And I answered it. It said unknown number. When I picked up to answer the phone, a voice, an unnatural voice, spoke. Your soul is mine! And that roar came through the phone. I dropped it, ran, just started running. I didn't know which way I was running. I just started running. Remember, there was a mist. It was getting thick, almost like fog. I was screaming my head off, running, screaming and running, running and screaming, and running, while screaming and running some more. I screamed until my throat felt like I had swallowed rocks. I couldn't scream anymore. I was breathing heavy. My heart was pounding. I was sweating, crying like a baby that needed his diaper changed. I didn't need my diaper changed. Came close to needing my diaper changed. Well, I don't wear a diaper, but you understand my point. I almost shit myself. It was that bad. That's how scared I was. But even more so scared of what was there was the fear that I may not get out of this. I may be trapped here. I don't want to be trapped here. I don't want to be trapped anywhere. Fuck that shit. I want to get out and go home. So I just kept running as much as I could until I could run no more. I came to a wooden fence, you know, like those old fences, like a log and fence post log. Climbed over. And as I stepped out from the mist, I almost got hit by a fucking car. Swerved, missed me, stopped, guy got out, started yelling at me and shit. Hey, motherfucker, watch where the fuck you're going, you stupid fuck, damn it, in the road and shit. Almost caused me to have a wreck. He hopped back in his car and he drove away. Didn't even ask me if I needed any kind of fucking help or anything and shit. You know, what a douchebag. And then I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck is he out here so late at night driving down this road anyway? Shit, there's nothing out here to do. I'm pretty sure everything in town is closed. Then I thought to myself, I've got to get to the tavern. I've got to get to the tavern. So I tried to use my sense of direction. And I figured if I follow this road, it's got to take me somewhere. Because that's what roads do. They take you places. So I figured I'd go to the right. And so I walked down this road. I walked and I walked and I walked. And I heard the sound of the river. So I knew I was at least where I was supposed to be, but if I was heading in the right direction was what I wasn't sure of. So I just kept walking, and eventually I ended up back in town. I saw the tavern, which just so happened to be open, which I thought was kind of strange because there was nothing else in this town open. It's a small town in Connecticut, trust me. There's nothing open after a certain time in small towns, usually about 8 o'clock. So I got to the door and I opened it. And I went in. And believe it or not, the place was packed. For a small town, there's like 10, 15 fucking people in there. They were talking, and there was TV on in the corner, news playing, or whatever was being played. I don't remember exactly, but there was something playing. People were watching it and talking and having a good old time until I walked in. Everybody stopped talking, put their drinks down. They all stared at me. They said, "You were in the Devil's Hopyard, weren't you?" I said, "What do you mean? Yeah, you all know that. I spoke to most of you people earlier today about going there. You're cursed now. Cursed. His minions will follow you wherever you go. For as long as you live, you'll never escape." That's not what Abraham told me, guys. He told me I had to get back here before a certain time or I'd be trapped forever. That was what happened to him. He doesn't know what happens now. You must leave this place. You must leave. We don't want whatever evil you've brought with you affecting us. Please. I said, hold on a second now. Give me a few minutes. I've just been running and screaming my fucking head off out there. It's all types of shit. I need some time to collect myself. The guy behind the bar pulled out a shotgun, cocked it, and pointed at me and said, "Leave now." So I left. I wasn't gonna get shot. Had a crazy enough night as it was. I didn't need to get shot on top of that. I just wouldn't have been good. So I found my car. I said, fuck my equipment. I'm not going back to get it. Somebody can just take it and pawn that shit. I'm good. But my phone was working. Because these are remote cameras, I figured, well, let me just log in and see what I can see. So I dialed in, checked the camera at the bottom of the falls, nothing. Checked the camera at the top of the falls. And I saw him again. It was like he knew I was looking at the camera. Because he looked dead into the camera. It was like he was staring right at me. Like, right at me. That's how it felt. And he laughed. This sinister, evil laugh. And then the camera went dead. My phone sparked and exploded in my hand. And I noticed a mark on the back of my hand. An upside down cross. I tried to wash it off. Didn't go anywhere. So as I'm sitting in my car, driving back home, I kept hearing these whispers. Sounded like they were coming from the back of my car. I kept turning to look. But nothing was there. And I just kept driving down this long, dark, wooded road. Lots of turns and shit. And I saw something on the side of the road that startled me. Looked like a person needing help, like they were hunched over, like maybe hurt. So I pulled over to see if they needed help. You know, I figured maybe they were wandering and got lost or some shit. Or maybe they had ran from this devil's Hopyard like I had. As I pulled up close to the person, I noticed something. They looked a lot like me. I looked at them and they looked up at me, and it was myself. And I had a look of terror that I had never seen before on my face. And I ran towards the car. Well, the me outside the car ran towards me in the car, screaming and yelling, "Help me! Let me in, please!" Now I'm thinking to myself, this is some fucking crazy ass shit. Like, what am I looking at here? I stop the car, I pull over, and I'm watching myself run to me. Screaming and yelling and panicking and frantic, terrified. And just as he reaches the door, something snatches him back into the darkness. He disappears behind the trees, and I see a glowing redness coming from where he disappeared into. And from it, I start to see glowing eyes, and they're moving towards me. I hit the gas and I took off. Drove as fast as I could. I was like, I gotta get out of this area. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get off this road. Back to a main road or something. Like I'm saying, I was driving. I was speeding. I wasn't going slow. There's no street lights out here, just darkness. The moon is all I can see. So it's making the trees make these crazy shadows and shit. It look like things reaching for the car. So at that time, I just so happened to look up into the rearview mirror. And when I look into the rearview mirror, I see myself again in the back seat. But this time, half my face looked like it had been torn off. Part of my neck looked like something had bit a big chunk out of it, piece of my chest was ripped. My arm was bloody. And I was just sitting there staring at me. I freaked out! Crashed into a tree. Stumbled out of my car. Now, all I could do was just continue to run down this road. Run. And that's what I did. I ran. For what seemed like hours. Hours. Just kept running and running and running. So finally I saw streetlights and a gas station. I ran into it. Slammed the door behind me, looking. The dude at the counter was like, "Hey buddy, the fuck's wrong with you?" I said, "Shit, fucking goddamn, it's the devil's Hopyard. Somebody was in the backseat of my car. He's hurt. Looked like me. Crashed into a tree. Back that way. I need the cops. Medical attention, please." And I wasn't looking at him when I said all this. I was looking out the glass door, making sure nothing was following me. And he starts laughing. And then it sounded like two voices were laughing at the same time. One deeper, more demonic, another one more human. They were together. Then they both spoke and said, "You shall never escape us. You will never escape us." I ran out of there. Hauled ass. It was a church that was open. I ran into the church. The priest was there. I don't know why he was there, but thank God he was there. I ran in there. I told him the story about the devil's Hopyard, this beast, myself, and what was going on. He showed him my hand. He looked at it. "We don't have much time. Come." He took me into this cellar, this basement, to a small room. He started reading from a book. Latin or something. It wasn't English. And as he started to speak these words, I started to feel sick and just not well. He kept speaking. And I felt the mark on my hand start to burn. And then it felt like the blood in my veins was starting to boil. I was like, and then I blacked out. When I awoke, I was laying on this mattress in the corner of this room that he brought me to. He was standing over me, still speaking words and doing hand gestures and things. He said, "My son, your soul is now clean, but never come back to this place." So I called an Uber, got picked up, called a tow truck company, had my car towed to a shop back closer to my house, and I went the fuck home. Apparently, when I had been marked, a copy of me was made, and this copy of me was trying to trick me and take me so that it could live out its days as me. But it was a demon. Thank God this priest broke the link between me and the demon, or else it would have hunted me down for the rest of my life. So, for anybody planning a trip to the devil's Hopyard, be very fucking careful. What you go to seek, you will find. Evil in that place there is. Evil.